Autobots, transform and roll!
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be checking out this, which is the Yolopark Transformers Rise of the Beasts Optimus Prime. Now, you guys may be thinking, haven't we already seen Yolopark approach this exact design? And you would be correct. Alongside both Optimus Primal and Bumblebee, Optimus Prime was originally released as part of their very first wave of Rise of the Beast figures. But this is Yolopark's AMK Pro Optimus Prime, a fully repainted and slightly modified version of their original, and as we whack up an image of how he did appear in the movie, for the price point of roughly around $60, this is honestly looking to be yet another win for Yolopark. I kinda look at this release like the Studio Series Springer. Sure, it's similar to the original, but with the increased price point, not only have they been able to include so much more, but also make some changes which weren't quite right first time round. For example, the neck joint. This one is so much shorter in comparison to the original, which to be completely honest, I never really had an issue with, but comparing the two in hand, the new one does look miles better. Another big difference between AMK to AMK Pro is also the paint apps. This guy has been fully painted, and despite this guy packing some diecast, the majority of it is internal, so I think it's super cool how big chunks of the sculpt that are plastic are made to look like actual metal. They also completely retooled the underside of the chest plate to kind of resemble the Matrix chamber that you can just about make out in the movie, which I also thought was a really nice touch. And again, much like Scourge, I do actually find myself sometimes preferring his look from the back. This is so insanely close to how he actually looked in the movie. The shoulder blades, the spinal column, even his butt cheeks have all been decked out with this grimy black wash. And when you begin to compare this to say something from the Marvel Legends line, which let's all be honest is very rarely even fully painted from the front, there is a reason why Hasbro's profits right now are at an all-time low. This thing has actual metal fully integrated into its design, making it not only look but also feel so much better than the original. And you know what, guys, I've got to mention just how much I liked how this design still retains a lot of the truck parts. The windshield, the smokestacks, the front lamps, tail lights and the tyres are all great throwbacks to his look from the original G1 cartoon, and really made this Optimus Prime look and feel like an actual Transformer. But with all that being said, the figure is not completely flawless. I do think that compared to his look in the film, he could have done with maybe being a little bulkier, but again, to be completely honest, factoring in the price point, this is still an absolute knockout. Firing through some of Prime's accessories, we'll start off firstly by checking out some of the new stuff. So up first, he includes the iconic Ion Blaster, which is something that unfortunately never actually shows up in the movie, despite being shown on nearly all of the character renders leading up to its release. But instead, this has been completely modelled after its design in the Bumblebee movie, and there is no denying that if you're a fan of the original G1 cartoon, then this just completes his look. He also includes a fully interchangeable faceplate, which I'm guessing is more for those like myself who did grow up with the Bayverse, but regardless, detail-wise is definitely the more interesting between the two. Although I do think could have done with the same grimy wash that we did see throughout the robot mode. As much like in the film, from a distance, the details all just kind of gel together and it is kind of hard to make out exactly what's what. Then as for the rest, if I can cast your minds back 2 years to their original AMK release, besides a few extra pair of hands, Optimus included no proper weaponry. Instead, Yolopark decided to package those in as part of a DLC with Rhinox, which at the time I remember thinking was a little crafty. This time round though, he includes everything. A pair of arm cannons, 2 Michael Bay inspired Energon blades, and a battle axe, which we did see him mostly use towards the end of the film just after he defeats Unicron. Now the arm blasters are by far visually the most impressive looking accessories. These have been completely painted front side to back, and despite looking like huge chunks of metal, are in fact just basic plastic. As for the blades, these are accurate to their look in the film, although I was hoping for Yolopark to give them their energized look, to kind of match what we did recently see from Scourge, as otherwise they do come across as looking a little bland. Then finally, in addition to the newly sculpted articulated hands, Prime also includes 2 fists, an open pair, 1 command hand, and then finally 1 gun holding hand. Now none of these have actually been painted, but it's still pretty nice to have them included, especially for an action figure. And to match all of the more recent AMK Pro products, Prime also includes a display base face, which visually is a huge step up in comparison to the design included with some of their original G1 characters, a bendy wire, and then finally a magnetic Autobot insignia, which leads me on to yet another pretty big difference between this version and the original, the electronic LEDs, which are actually pretty decent. Now in total there are 3 different looks, the first being a steady glow, the second rapid blinking, and then finally a very slow pulsating look. So definitely there's a great deal going on with this guy, and again, to kind of go back to my earlier point, compared to a standard action figure released by Hasbro, I really think that right now Yolopark are on top. I mean, you've only got to look at their very first wave of figures compared to the years of suffering as seen from the Transformers Red line. There really was no competition at all. Now, turning to posability, to of course see whether or not this Prime has the touch, when designing a non-transforming Transformer, there are really 2 things to bear in mind. The first being detail, and the second being articulation, and this guy I think definitely has both. So, to begin with, despite the neck now being much shorter, the head can still look up and down, tilt side to side, and of course rotate left to right. The shoulders can kick forwards and backwards, and all the way out to the side. There is even a pretty nifty butterfly joint. The biceps can spin, with the elbows able to bend way past 90. The wrists are ball jointed, and this time the fingers are also pretty decently articulated. The upper torso can crunch forwards, backwards, and rock side to side, although I do wish this range here was maybe a little deeper. But the waist has no issues in spinning all the way around. Despite the hips being able to extend, due to the design of the hip skirt, they can really only kick forwards to that far, but surprisingly back to that far, and are packing a deadly kick out to the side. The thighs can spin, with the knees able to seamlessly bend way past 90. The foot can kick forwards, backwards, rock side to side in both directions, and can be rotated, and then finally even the toe can hinge upwards. So definitely pretty decently articulated again for the price point, but to see the true power of this Prime, let's whack him through the pose test. Now, one thing I just want to quickly mention in this video is a brand new segment which I am looking at trialing out over the coming weeks, titled What's Next? I'm thinking of throwing in 2 figures, so for example, let's say the Studio Series 2.0 Bumblebee and the War for Cybertron Ironhide, and have you guys deciding in the comments which one you'd like to see next. I also wouldn't be opposed to you all just generally chucking in some random figures that maybe were not even mentioned in the video but would still interest you for a future video, so definitely let me know down below. Firing through some comparisons, up first is Yolopark's original AMK release, which if I'm not mistaken retailed for around $25 in comparison to the $60 of this AMK Pro. Now, to be completely honest, in comparison to the competition, as mentioned previously, I think for that price point both of these guys are super worth it. If you don't mind your Transformers not transforming, then without a doubt this mold is the best and most affordable looking out there. But if you do already own the original, is the new one still worth the upgrade? Honestly, I would still say absolutely yes. With Scourge, it was a little harder to decide, mainly because the standard release already was just so good. But if you were to compare what you get between the two, it's really like Yolopark have created the definitive Rise of the Beast Optimus Prime, kind of similar to what NECA have now been doing for some time with some of their Ultimate releases. Next up is the newly released Scourge, and a big thanks to the viewers of his review who commented a way to modify the arm cannon so that it does better match up with how it actually appeared in the movie. This looks so much better. The AMK Pro Transformers 5 Optimus Prime, which I still think is my favourite from the line so far, although I've got to say there is definitely some tough competition, because here we have Mirage, which is by far the best looking version of this character so far released. The Studio Series Voyager class Optimus Prime. Now, I do believe this guy here recently just got a reissue, but I'm gonna be honest guys, if you don't mind your Transformers not transforming, then I still think this version is definitely worth looking into, because despite being slightly taller in comparison to that Voyager, stacked up against this Bumblebee, I really don't think the scale is that bad. So, wrapping up on this review for the Yolopark Transformers Rise of the Beasts Optimus Prime. At the moment, I am yet to be disappointed by any of these AMK Pro figures. Optimus looks to be yet another incredibly faithful recreation of how he did appear on screen, and the improvements between this version compared to the original really do make this, I think, the better between the two. The amount that Yolopark is able to achieve with the same budget as Hasbro really is putting some of the competition to shame. I mean, this guy has actual metal and LEDs, yet costs costs like $10 more than that ridiculously overpriced Maximum Series Spider-Man. But that's my look at Yolopark's AMK Pro Optimus Prime. I would love to get what you guys think down below. As always, I thank you all so much for watching, and until my next video, I'll see you then. Transform and roll out!